Welcome, folks. This is back. Another episode of Closing Time. I am your host, Iain Bryant. And if you're anything like me, and I know I am, you don't care about the host. You care about the guest. And I care deeply for this guest. Craig Haskins joins us live. Craig, welcome to Closing
I care
Time.
I care about you, man. I care. Just make it equal here. Thank you.
No, I really am appreciative for you coming on and excited about where we're going to go today. You were very kind to kind of think through some questions that I think the listeners will find very helpful and insightful. But for those that don't know, Craig Haskins, CEO of Nightberry, tell us some of your background personally and tell us a little bit about the history of Nightberry, which is significant.
All right. Well, that's easy. Who doesn't like talking about themselves? So let's start with the company. The company's old. We're old. We're 1854, 7 years before Lincoln became president.
Wow.
Good old little Nightberry title was in Racine, Wisconsin, knocking out real estate closings. So we're 100. If you're not good with math, Ian, it's 171 years old.
I'm jotting this down.
Yeah, so it's carry the one. Anyways, it's 171 years old this year. We're very excited about that.
Awesome.
Mr. Knight's family, Mr. Barry's family, a family called the Patricks, took it over after World War I and then sold it to my family in 1979. So we've owned it since the 70s. We were a small one-town shop in Racine, Wisconsin in the 90s. I graduated from the NCAA championship Florida Gators basketball team. Shout out to them. I graduated from Florida in the 90s and moved to Wisconsin. Shocker. And said, I can learn this title business. I thought I was going into a tile business, like tile floors. No, it's title business. So that was in the 90s. We had one office in a little town called Racine, which is pretty cool. And then it's just a little bit south of Milwaukee. And I kept saying, why aren't we in Milwaukee? Like, there's so much action up in Milwaukee. Now you fast forward 20-something years, we've got 90 offices, about 420 employees, predominantly 4 states, mostly, the 4 states are really easy to memorize. It's Wisconsin, Minnesota, Florida, and Michigan. And we've acquired a bunch of title companies. We've got a handful of joint venture affiliated business title companies. And it's been a pretty fun ride over the last 28 years or so, maybe
That's
29.
neat. And I mean, just for reference sake, and I'm sure viewers are aware of this, but that puts you as one of the largest independently owned title agents in the country. And so how many branches then, when you first started at Nightberry, how many branches did you have at that time?
We had 1.5. We had one, our main office, and then we had a little office in Kenosha, Wisconsin. We'd go and flip the lights on, do a closing, and left. It was cool to have 2 locations on our letterhead. And then once we got over 20 locations, we couldn't fit anything on the letterhead, so we got rid of all that. But so 1.5. But it's been fun. It was a good old boys, still is in some places, a good old boys industry, and not much new blood, I guess you could say, in Wisconsin where I first started, and not much technology. Just everything that's the way we've always done it, and that doesn't sit well with me. And I try to tell our staff that's like the death knell of any business is like, well, that's the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
Especially in a service business that's that's evolving quickly with tech and entirely different processes that we do today than what we did 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. Everything's changing.
Well, I'm excited to dive into kind of thinking about lessons learned. Obviously, a lot of lessons learned when you go from 1 to 90 plus branches. So excited to delve into that.
We didn't do them all right either. There's been some duds. So we tend not to tweet or Facebook or LinkedIn all the duds, but we've had a few. So we've learned lessons too. So maybe whatever I can share, whatever you ask, I can maybe help somebody avoid some really goofy situations to get into.
That's great. Well, help us to get to know you personally a little bit, Craig, and then we'll dive back into the professional.
All right. I've got 3 boys, married to Deanne, 3 boys, 26, 24, and 18. I'm an empty nester now. My son is a freshman at the University of Kentucky. The other 2 boys have graduated. One works for us. Our oldest son is a closer in an office near Milwaukee. My middle son's an actuary. Went to Xavier, stayed in Cincinnati, where he can nerd out on actuary stuff that's way over my head. And I live in Milwaukee, and I like to mow my lawn. Everyone's like, "What's your hobby?" Golf is fun, but I don't know. I mow my neighbors hate me. I mow great straight lines in my lawn. It's like 2 hours a couple times a week where I can get away from anyone. Nobody texts or emails me. No one asks me questions when I'm mowing my lawn because I'll put them to work. So that's kind of what I like to do. We have a little lake house out in western, a little west of here, and screw around on the weekends there. I've got soon to be 6 grills. Obsessed with grilling meat, apparently. I don't know. It's just when you don't have any kids around anymore, you get home and you're looking around like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? I don't have baseball to coach. I don't have to run kids all over town. So, yeah, I fill my time with mowing lawns and grilling, which is what I always thought old people did when I was younger.
Well, you're moving
51.
into old age nicely, right?
Yes, I'm 51.
It's a smooth transition. From start to finish, how long are we talking for a finished mowing job here at your house, including trimming?
Yeah, trimming's a while. I mean, I push mow the edges. Why are we talking about this? I'm such a nerd with mowing. I push mow the edges. I've got a bunch of garden islands that have to go around, and I have a big commercial ride-on zero-turn tractor with a striping kit attached.
Like
Mows
a roll,
perfect
like you got like a roller that's.
a very heavy roller, yeah. Pushes the grass the way I want it to grow, and yeah.
Speaking of moving into old age, this is a nice transition. When you think about title agent owners and so many folks in terms of staffing around the country, there are a lot of people moving towards retirement age and thinking about kind of that next chapter, right, for them and for their agency. What advice would you give to owners who are kind of beginning to toy with that idea, think about succession planning, possible exit strategy? And where have you seen, because obviously you've done a lot of acquisitions, where have you seen folks make the most significant mistakes as they think about that?
Fair question. I get that question a lot. So I'm also I'm the president-elect of Alta. I don't know if that's a thing, but in 2 years, if I don't screw this up and they throw me out, I'll be the president of Alta, which also means I'm the chair of the agent section, and we run 2 meetings for large agents. And it's a topic that comes up, 2 or 3 times a year where we host things and large agents get together and talk about these things. So I get this question a lot. And we've purchased about 35 agencies in my time at Knightberry. Haven't purchased an agency in a few years though, Ian. It's been weird. I don't know what I'm doing around here. But yeah, it's been almost 3 years since the last time we purchased an agency. We were doing 3 or 4 a year at some point. But here I'll tell you why that's been too. But let me, I guess, answer your question. The starting early. I mean, it takes a while if you're going to do it right. You can't say at the end of this year I'm going to sell my company. You've got to start early, because buyers like me and all the other folks out there that are buyers are going to ask the same types of things. They're going to want to see plans. They want to see that you've put things in motion. You can't wait until you're burned out as the seller, as the owner. You can't say, I'm burned out. That's the last thing you want to tell a buyer, is that the owner is burned out, especially if we intend for you to keep running it for a while. The last thing I want to do, let's buy a company where the people are burned out. Makes no sense. Waiting till the market turns down also seems logical. Let's keep making this money, and when it stops, we'll sell it. It doesn't work. Not for me. Or maybe it's a smaller multiple. The best thing for me is to have that strong second-tier management team. So the non-owner people that are allowed to do stuff. Are they allowed to do their own closing? Can they do sales and marketing? Can they do their own underwriting? Or does the owner, traditionally, title companies are 3 to 4 employees, where the owner's the brain of everything and everyone else are worker bees? That's bad. Yeah. You want to make sure you've got people in place that can do it all, because if the owner wants to retire or transition out soon and no one else knows how to do anything, I have zero interest, and most buyers are going to give you a lot less. and it presents risks for me too. I bought a handful of title companies where the owners bolted shortly after the closing, and those are not nowhere near as successful as ones where the owner's going to stay on, or the owner said, I bought one where the owner said, look, the day you hand me that check, I'm out of here. And I said, well, why would I want to do that? And she said, well, I don't do anything around here anyways. I haven't done anything around here for years. I'm just the owner. So I verified it with the staff, and they said, yeah, she's just in the way. She hugs the clients when they come in every day. So anyway, if the owner's not a decision maker and is just the owner, good, fine. But that's so rare. You got to have a leadership team that knows how to do everything. Otherwise, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Come in and learn your market tomorrow? It's impossible. So, financials, everyone always asks, financials, have clean, simple, verifiable financials. Look, every title agency I've ever looked at has personal stuff on their business financials. Is it right? I don't know. I'm not the IRS police for you, but you have to be able to explain, okay, I have a very expensive company car. It's on line B, and this is what that. Be ready to explain that. Don't make me find things and say, what's this? Because now I'm going to think, is this Iain guy? What's he hiding? So have verifiable, simple financial statements. The biggest mistake, you asked, what's a big mistake, is waiting too long, selling under duress, or assuming that the business is worth more than what buyers are willing to pay. You can't wait till you're burned out, you're tired, market's declining. Look, if the market's going up like it's now, I know I've got cash flow coming in. I'm more excited to buy. I might get a cheaper deal on the way down, and you as the seller are going to get a cheaper deal, but I'm not really excited about that. I'm more excited when the market turns. Don't overestimate your company's value. It's not an emotional decision. Use real-world multiples. Ask somebody for help. Talk to Stewart. Talk to your underwriter. Hey, what's a 6-person title company in Haskinsville go for? Or what do you think? They'll help you. Yeah. Now, I don't want you to, as a buyer, as an agency, I don't want you to tell your underwriter sometimes because I don't want them to buy you. Right. I want to buy you. So there are some ways to find some help that doesn't blow your deal.
It's interesting the way you talk about that, because you see some title agencies, sort of that energy from the principal waning, right, as they get towards retirement and that kind of thing, which is understandable, right? We've been through some. I find my own energy waning sometimes these days, but it's there's been some rough years here in the last few. But you almost think about how do you make, and I've heard this phrase before, if you want to make your company saleable, it's the same approach as thinking about making it scalable. You got to run hard at growth, and you got to think about how you scale, because the outcome of that, if you're trying to sell, is the same type of value as if you're trying to grow, right? That's what a buyer is ultimately looking for. So you make some very good points that way. And talking about kind of the idea of scaling, you've done it in ways that probably very few, honestly, have within the industry. And you've done it across multiple states. What are 2 or 3 things that a successful title agent must absolutely have to succeed today? And sort of on the flip side, what are 2 or 3 things that agents focus too much on that they should probably ignore?
Yeah, so strong people, number one. Title business is still a people person. AI, blah, great, whatever. And the title business is a strong people business. Without a well-trained staff, you've got no shot. That I mean it. If you want to scale up, hey, we're going to go to a new county, a new part of the town, a new state, a new product. If you don't have if you have the ideas, great, but if you don't have the right people, you're toast.
Yeah.
So the right people is critical. Technology. Every day someone's pitching something in our space about tech and how tech can help our business. I like to buy tech that supports being efficient at Knightberry. I don't buy tech, and you can ask anybody that works with us, I don't buy tech at all that is to replace people. Now, I like to think that the tech supports their efficiency, whether it's fraud tools or anything that helps make their process smoother. I like that. Because I figure if a closer can do X number of files and I give them a tech tool, maybe they can do X plus now.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it to eliminate a closer. I bought it to make them more efficient, more back office recording people, title search, examination, our accounting department. We overhauled our entire accounting department with tech. It took a year to get that done. And it wasn't to get rid of some of the people in our accounting department. It was to make them more efficient. Now I can get more, they can do more. We can get more out of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But other things, like you've got to, as you scale, you've got to have great financial discipline. Watch margins like a hawk, especially when times are slow. It's easy to focus on like top line revenue and look how much what we did in sales this year. Yeah, but you lost money. Yeah. We bought our first title company we bought was in 2001. It was from a guy named Joe Mackesy. He told me one day as a joke, he said, "Craig, I lose money on every deal, but I make it up in volume." I still think it's hilarious, but sometimes,
and you may have believed it. Yeah, right.
And I thought, damn, that's so easy. No. Here's some things that I think people could ignore. So you said, but must-haves, those are the things. People, technology that builds efficiency, and just strong financial discipline. Things that, I don't know, things agents can probably ignore is like chasing every new tool, chasing every new piece of software, because it's going to be the next big thing. I don't know. I mean, somebody's really got to prove to me that it's going to be a good return on investment, or otherwise those checks are huge to stroke.
Yeah.
But I think that's the big one, is chasing every new tech tool that's out there. Although I do love my tech tools. I am a gadget freak. I am the first guy to buy the new iPhone every year when it comes out. So, maybe I speak with forked tongue.
When you talked about training, to what degree, and maybe you think about it by role or discipline, or maybe it's by geography, I don't know. To what degree do you think about hiring from outside the industry and doing your own training versus kind of what most of us do, right? Which is look within the industry and hire. And maybe it depends on role, but walk me through how you all have thought through that.
I want winners on our team. Sometimes our team did not develop the winners. They're down the street at the other house, and I'm jealous that they've got someone who's better than what I have, or that would help augment the people I have. So, but the trap there is, if every time you need to hire someone, the thought is steal them from the competitor down the street and overpay, you're going to get the type of people who are going to say, well, that's not the way I've always done it.
Yep.
Oh, that's not the way I did closings over there. Or we would never do that at XYZ title. Sometimes if you're in a pinch, you can make it work, great. But often you overpay and you get sometimes stubborn people. And guess what? Their customers won't always follow them.
Yep.
But I love training new people. We invested a few years ago. We said we're going to set some money aside. We're going to hire a bunch of college kids that have never even heard of title, and we're going to figure out whether you're title people or you're closing people. And we developed the department that we call it special teams, but it's our internal department training camp. They bring zero revenue. It's a giant expense, but man, that's our training camp. We constantly cycle new people out of there. I've got people with a biology degree. I've got river sciences degree. I've got English business. I've got an actuarial science guy who we hired right out of college. We're thinking, oh, this guy's going to be great. He's a great commercial examiner now. It's only been a few years. He's amazing. But we got him internally. Now, a lot of these kids come out of college, they've never seen $40,000.
Yeah.
And that's a heck of a lot in some major metro. I mean, that's a heck of a lot than stealing someone from a competitor and then hope they're not like the stubborn, that's the way we've always done it people. So, but it is expensive. You've got to be willing to bring people in that bring no money, that have no customers. It's a pure expense, but the payoff is amazing, especially if you keep it going. We're always hiring people that have no idea what title is, no idea what escrow is, no idea what closings are. They just know it's financial service, and it's an integral part of the real estate and financing transaction.
And do you find that those folks, especially when you're hiring towards the younger end, maybe right out of college or that kind of thing, I've heard a lot of agency owners talk about they love the idea, but they're concerned about the risk that you get 6, 9, 18 months of training in on these folks, and then they decide to jump over and do something else.
For sure.
To what degree have you found that to be true versus being able to retain them and engage them with the industry and the company and that kind of thing?
It's totally true. It's totally true. They'll know within the first couple months of training if this is going to be for them. And we just tell them, be honest. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And we'll tell right away, too. Like, this person is not going to be a good, Then we got to cut loose. You've got to be smart. What are you going to invest 2 years to find out that your person you hired and spent 2 years on? You should know right away. You should have some series of benchmarks to figure out how they're progressing. But as far as people that are, I also love people that like kind of know what a transaction is. Maybe they're a real estate agent. There's a billion of them out there now that just aren't doing that well because there's not a lot to sell.
Yeah.
Or a loan officer, there's the same thing. There's a slow time for that industry. They know what a mortgage is. They know what a note is. They know kind of what title is. They know something about the transaction. Well, you just knocked off a few months of training. So I like those people as well.
Some verbiage and that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You strike sort of an interesting balance here because on the one hand, I know firsthand, and you've referenced it, that you all have adopted various tools, right, from the industry and implemented them. You're always quick to evaluate what's out there. At the same point in time, your advice is interesting, right? That sometimes title agents focus too much on what that next wave of tech is, or how they maybe overestimate how it's going to drive their growth or profitability, that kind of thing. But as sort of we see it almost daily, right? As more tech and automation tools kind of proliferate in the title space, how do you balance modernizing, your company with kind of that delicate balance of company culture, client relationships? Because you can kind of only load up so much change, in my experience, on a given group. How do you think about balancing that?
Yeah, I guess maybe a couple things. I already mentioned it once before, but adopting like the tech and the modernization stuff that empowers the staff, not replaces them.
Yeah.
That's for sure. They don't believe you when you're saying you're rolling something out, but every year as we roll new things out, they kind of say, okay, well, he hasn't lied to us yet. So, but also communicating to the staff and to our customers early and often, like we are changing the following thing in 2025.
Yeah.
Especially to the staff. But we're doing it, we're going to protect certain traditions, things that matter. The things that, there are some, that's the way we've always done it, things that have to stay. So we're not totally trying to change that, but we want our staff to have an open mind. Like, this is what we're going to build that's going to help you. Here's why we're doing it, and tell us what you think about this. I have never signed a contract for anything tech or modernization or anything where it's just Craig decided on it and said, someone go do it.
Yeah.
We always get a group of people together. We have a Wednesday meeting every Wednesday at 1 o'clock with 10 or 11 of our key people every Wednesday. And it's a Zoom because some of them are remote or in different markets, I should say. And we say, what do you guys think about this? And we spend an hour, and then once we all decide that's the way to do it, we figure out how we're going to pay for it in a down market. And then we say, all right, how are we going to do this? And we come up with a plan. It's great. So teamwork makes the dream work.
I love that, and it's a disciplined approach, right? You have time set aside where you're going to evaluate. You do so from a team standpoint, so everybody's engaged. And that probably creates the cultural impetus to accept, right, what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, because I don't know like every button and every process and everything we do at Nightberry. I used to say, I want to know every little thing. We'd never grow this company. If I was an owner that had to do every little task, I'd never grow this. So there are some things that we want to modernize and improve where I say, look, I don't even know what this means. What do you guys think? And they jump all over it. This is great or it's not great, but yeah.
Well, let's take a brief pause because you have a cool story that I would like you to share about some of your early days and exposure to Stewart back in the day